And so you are the stakeholders who have to, while you're sitting in this research series, skill series, and getting yourself kind of, academically trained, you need these kind of alignments that you need to make yourself so that you become good researchers in future. The CV that has been given to you was meant not to boast myself, but to make a point that I studied my master's here in this university. I did my PhD. We will fly high. Those of us who would be happy sitting on the treetops will be happy sitting on the treetops. That is what I just wanted to tell you. If a person like me who has studied here with meager kind of, uh, facilities that are available, I'm talking about almost about 2.5 decades ago, with meager type of facilities being provided, as well as working in a field where not much of things can be done. I come from zoology background and I study wild animals, and in wild animals and wildlife studies, nobody cares about it. So with such kind of, interesting from our point of view, from science point of view, it is a very, very dry subject. Nobody cares, nobody respects wildlife biologists. We have kind of, made a mark. So it is possible. I always tell that if Srini or Srinivasulu can, so you can. That's the message that you have to remember. Thank you. This particular presentation, yeah, please, if you can close these lights, it might be. Yep. So now this presentation for next 1 hour, 1.5 hours, or however long it takes, uh, I would be just outlining to you why it is important that when you are doing research, you need to publish your research paper. I got an advice. Well, when I was in my first year of my doing research, and one of the scientists from very reputed organization met me in the jungle, and he said, unless and until you sit on a pile of papers and tell that you are an expert, nobody is going to, respect you. So that is some kind of, mentality that we need to develop. Do good research and do good going to, respect you. So that is some kind of, mentality that we need to develop. Do good research and do good publication, and that good publication is going to make you sit higher and higher, and eventually you become an expert in that particular field. So publication becomes very, very important in our, life. It is not important because some of us who are faculty members over here for the requirement of API scores and all such kind of things, please do not publish because somebody wants promotion or something like that. Second is, what is the process of peer review? We had been telling, when we wanted to have good publication, the publication needs to be peer reviewed. It should be in a peer reviewed journal or peer. What is the process of peer reviewing? How do you understand impact factor of a journal, and how you should select a correct journal workflow, submission process, authorship, what benefits it would give you, and all such kind of things. And then major components, I'll just very, very quickly deal with it. And then we'll also think about, what mistakes we make when we are, publishing or writing scientific papers. Now, when I'm saying scientific, those of you are not coming from science background, please do not take me otherwise. Non-science writing or social science writing or arts writing and all those things are also scientific writing. When I'm saying scientific writing, I'm not just explaining how you should write a science paper, but how you can write a research paper scientifically. When I say scientifically, it means you have to follow certain methodology, certain rules and regulations are there, certain guidelines are there. You have to follow those things, and your research paper would be well written and it would be well appreciated and well received. What is the use if at all you have written good papers or not so good papers and they are not being cited? So citation becomes very, very important. When sir was reading out that my citation index is 3,300 odd. So I am the highly cited individual in this university, and I feel pride about that fact that, over the ages I have created this kingdom wherein my papers are talking about me or my research. So if you have a paper and that is not being cited by anybody, then that simply means that you have written the paper just for the sake of writing a paper, and that paper is lost. So I will tell you why we should not be paying at doing those kind of activities, because eventually you end up losing lots of your time and effort in producing such papers that are not being cited, or producing mediocre, let me use this word, mediocre output from your research. And that is not what we want from all of you. All of you are sitting in this higher education institution where you have, by your choice, come and joined our research programs, doing your PhDs. We did not invite you. Did your guides invite you to come and join the PhD program? No, you have come by your choice. So it is your responsibility. This, why am I sitting here? Why am I listening to a person called Srinivasulu? So what we have to remember is, anybody, again, I'm telling just, a kind of, reminder that I come from science background. So I would be, more or less talking to you with the science perspective as such, but it's for everybody else. Whoever, whatever, background you're coming from, you just kind of, say that instead of scientists, you say journalists. If you're coming from journalism background, if you're coming from psychology background, psychologists. So you have to remember that we are not recognized for the thoughts that we are having. We are recognized because we have completed the process, and we have shown the world that, okay, this is what it is. If I have a question that needs an answer, it is not because I have the question I will be recognized. I can be a person who would ask 101 questions, but if I give one answer, people will recognize me and say, okay, this gentleman or this lady has solved a problem that the world is facing. So we need to think about in that manner. We ask questions and we need to find answer. Rather than that, if you are not finding answer, then it's nothing but waste of time. Now, one of the most important things that you have to keep in mind when we are doing research is, we need to see that the research is completed. And the research, when it is completed, whatever you find, you need to publish it. You need to share it with your peer. Unless and until you publish it, the research is your own, finding, and it would be remaining with you deep in your heart, in your journals, in your, notebooks, and you would not be, or maybe in your thesis. And the thesis is, at least now we have these stands. Earlier we used to say theses are used only for, putting the LED projector or LCD projector to a certain height. We used to do that when we were research scholars, bring in 4 theses from the library, put them, and instead of a table, we are using the thesis, very huge volumes of thesis of our seniors for as tables. So we should not do that. We should start thinking in that manner, where we have to publish and how we have to publish. Now, you might be wondering why publication is important. Publication is important because nobody, as I told you, nobody is going to appreciate you as a researcher unless and until you have a published paper on whatever subject you are studying, whatever subject you are researching. So it's a scenario wherein you have a situation wherein we say publish or perish. We say very clearly in India, if not now, maybe in future, it might come a situation where teachers or university faculty members or college teachers would be asked, do you have at least one publication in maybe 1 year, 2 years, or 5 years? So tenure track system would come into picture. In US, in UK, in many other countries, we have tenure track system. Here, if I have joined and if I have not published even a single paper, nobody can, remove me from university service. That's the situation. Here I am with 158 odd papers, research papers, and we have more colleagues in the university, more than 40% of colleagues who have published 1 or 2 papers for the requirement of API promotions. So you see this, but this is going to change. If you are wanting to go to US, UK, and other places and wanting to have some kind of, jobs over there you will not survive if at all you do not have good publication record. You also have to start thinking about, if at all you, nowadays we are getting students who are having some kind of publication in their PG programs, in their UG programs. They are coming to us. And if I have to pick up any student who uh, who has a in the PG program a research paper and who does not have any research experience in the PG program, I would pick the person who has some publication to his or her credit to join my team, rather than I would be, I know that these people who have the research papers to their credit, they would be able to execute. So competition is increasing in the postdoctoral scenario also. Those of you who are going to submit your research PhD thesis, etc., you have to start thinking in the postdoctoral scenario also. If I have to pick up students, then I would be paying attention or giving more. You have to keep in mind that all of the selection committees or all of the job providers who are in the ecosystem, they would be looking at these kind of things. So publication becomes very, very important. Publication for the sake of promotion, publication for the sake of API scores, please do not do it. That is what I would say, those of you who are in that bracket. So because of this requirement, not only requirement from the point of view of the promotion requirement or cutthroat competition that is there in the market and all such kind of things, because many people are involved in doing research, thousands and thousands of papers are published every day, right? And to what extent these papers are good papers, to what extent these papers are not so good papers, we are not going to get into that particular domain. But we have to remember that there are people who are publishing lots and lots of papers every day. Papers are being published. They have to remember that there are people who are publishing lots and lots of papers every day. Papers are being published. This morning I kind of accepted one research paper as an editorial editor of a particular journal, and I have read research paper as a reviewer. So just imagine that as a university professor, every day in day out, weekly at least twice or thrice we are doing reviewing or we are taking editorial decision. So that is how much people are writing, and writing research papers is increasing. So the competition in the market is increasing. Now, when you start thinking that, what you should write, what you should publish anything that is novel. Do not copy, paste, and publish. What is the use if at all somebody has said that, okay, because of gravity, Newton discovered it so many years back, and you are saying G is this. It's not going to make any dent on anybody, right? And your publication on that particular subject would go waste. Then you try to find out, okay, if G is this, if would the G be the same in the on the ocean floor or on Mount Everest? So that's something new. Then you start working on that and see that whether there is a difference because of altitude, the G differs. If it is so, then that's a Nobel Prize winning discovery, right? So that's something novel. So you have to always think that, I'm sorry to say, more than 450 odd research theses get published from university annually. 450 plus PhDs we award. How many of these PhDs are novel? How many of these PhDs have the capability of technology transfer? How many of these PhDs are having the patentable ideas in them? The answer is less than 10%. I don't say that all of them are bad. I just say less than 10%. And 90% of these PhDs are just for the sake of PhD. We are writing PhD, we are developing theses, we are getting our degrees, and we are walking out. And that is what bothers not only HCI like Osmania University, but also the Ministry of Education, the person who is heading Jagdish, Professor Jagdish ji, as well as our Minister, Prime Minister. Why are we missing this point that our able future is not able to deliver what needs to be delivered properly, because we are happy copying or repeating the works that people have already done. We do not have this mindset to think out of box and start asking questions and provide answers that are novel. So I have told you these things, just you can very quickly go through the slide. But one thing that you have to remember is your research paper, when you are writing, it should be citable. people should be able to come back to your research paper and say that, yes, this is something good. For example, I have written a monograph that has been cited more than 100 to come back to your research paper and say that, yes, this is something good. For example, I have written a monograph that has been cited more than 140 times. So if I have written a paper on what tiger eats, right, more than 98 times. So those are the papers that it's kind of, useful for other researchers. If your papers are not being cited, if your papers are not well written, if your papers are not giving novel ideas or new findings and all such kind of things, your papers get lost. So what happiness or what kind of, what do you say, uh, feeling of good that is coming out of your research writing is this, that you get recognition in the field. People start writing, start talking about you, start referring to you, start saying that, okay, this is the gentleman or this is the lady who has done this wonderful work. We should get back to this person and get some inputs, right? So now when we are talking about writing research papers and all such kind of things, you have to also remember, when we are talking about research skill series, you have to remember that a good researcher would be a good storyteller. A good storyteller becomes a good researcher, vice versa, right? So that you have done good research. You should be able to communicate either vocally, orally, or in written, right, the findings that you have found from your research, right? So it will, on the other hand, it is kind of making you more enabled, more skilled with respect to your storytelling ability increases when you know that how you need to write the research paper, how you need to give introduction, what is review of literature. All these things might have been told to you, but I am very gently trying to touch upon these things just to say that you, when you are writing a good research paper with good communication skills, that becomes interesting paper, because the reader would look at the abstract and start thinking, if the abstract is so wonderfully well written, then they would come back to your paper and start reading the whole paper. So you have to have very, very engaging interaction with your reader, so that you are going to learn as and when you would be surprised to know that my first research paper that I tried to write and get it published was a small note, and two notes I have submitted, and both the notes got rejected. Those notes are still there with me. I look at those notes and start wondering, yes, but at least I began somewhere. When I was in MSc first year, about to get into MSc second year, I wrote those two notes and tried to publish it, but it did not get published because of various reasons, but they are still with me. But when I look at that thing, and when I look at now, after all those 100 plus papers that I have published, if I look at all the whole papers, I start scratching my head. That's the reason why I'm bald like this. I start scratching. Did I write like that? Oh my God. But it's an evolution, right? You will not become a good shin, right? You will not become a good storyteller overnight. Nobody is born like that, or nobody can become like that. So you need to kind of become good communicator, good storyteller. When you are talking about all these things, then the underlining point, the last line that talks about, you need to be a disciplined writer. Those of us who write, we always come across something called as writer's block. Journalism students and all, they might be uh, aware of this. And those of you who are writing your chapters now for your research thesis, you might be also coming across this. The writer's block will come in day out, or sometimes there are phases for weeks together or months together. We are not getting the interest to write. We are having that inclination to write, but we don't get the words out. All such kind of things would be there. It would be bothering you, all such kind of things. But the good communicator and all those things, if you are paying attention towards disciplining your writing skills and all such kind of things, then you can overcome all those things. Now let's say The biggest question is, right, you have done a good research, you want to publish this research, then these are the questions that you would be thinking about. Where should I publish? What is meant by peer review? There are many journals that would say peer review, and within 2 days or within 1 day, they will just give you the research publication out, provided you send them, transfer the money, right? Money matters, right? 5,000 base there, within 2 days, you got a PDF in your inbox saying that, this is published, right? So the peer review is a big thing. Peer review comes, as I told you, as a reviewer, it comes to me and it sits in my inbox. And for maybe months together, it sits there because I'm so busy. I cannot be just looking at it and just take few hours and just say that, okay, it is okay. Because somebody has trusted, some researcher has trusted that, it should go to Dr. Srinivasulu, and Srinivasulu, because he is an expert, he will give good comments on my paper, manuscript, and I would be able to better my manuscript if I get better comments from experts in the field. Peer review works like that. Whether we should publish in a peer-reviewed journal or non-peer-reviewed journal or predatory journals, as we call them. Second is, you need to start thinking, should I publish in a specific or specialized journal or a multidisciplinary journal? I sometimes publish my research articles in current science, because in current science, if I publish a research article on how bats feed, nobody is going to be interested. Only bat researcher would be interested in how bats feed by Srinivasulu. But if I publish in current science, which is a multidisciplinary journal, any article that says about how climate change impacts the bat population, then there are climate change biologists who are interested to study that thing. There are people, policy makers, administrators who are going through current science journal, because it is a multidisciplinary journal. That is where my readership would increase. I would be hitting the audience whom I intend to hit. If it is a highly specialized research paper that you are writing, get into specialized research journals. If not, get into multidisciplinary journals. Then you have to make those kind of, decisions. Then you have to start thinking about what is the reputation of journal, how long the journal has been, in publication scenario, and how well the journal is received by the peers in the ecosystem, and all such kind of things you have to start looking at. Then you have to start looking at the impact factor. Don't go by that, self-proclaimed impact factor that most of the journals would say. I have seen many journals that would say SJIF of 14.5 impact factor. I would kill myself if I get it into 14.5 impact factor journal when I'm doing my PhD research, right? Current science has an impact factor of 0.09, 0.98, less than 1. Journal of Biosciences journal, it's a multidisciplinary journal, 1.64 to 1.72. That's the best journals that we have in India, multidisciplinary journals, and that's the impact factor. And if you're coming across impact factor 10, impact factor 14, self-declared impact factors, and you get attracted towards that and start publishing there, I'm sorry to say you are getting into the mill of predatory journals, which are making money by fooling all of us who think ourselves as best researchers coming out from best of the best universities. I'm sorry to say that. But you also have to start thinking about how much time they take for processing, how much time they take for acceptance. If there are journals that are good reputation, but they have so much of backlog that they take almost about 1.5 to 2 years. I'll tell you that 2 years they kept one of my manuscript, and later they said that, we have so much of backup, we don't want to publish this. Kindly retrieve this. I said, does it take 2 years for you to tell me? You could have told me 2 months. After have submitted, I might have tried to publish itself somewhere else. Now after 2 years, things have changed. I have to redo the whole analysis. I have to redo the whole paper once again, because 2 years ago the methodology that I have used, the ideas that I was having at that time was entirely applicable at that time, but not now. If I publish it just like that, my peers are going to laugh at me and say, hey Srini, don't you keep yourself abreast with the changes, right? So all those things you have to keep in mind. then open access editors, editorial board members. Many a times we don't pay attention. In most of these predatory journals that was published throughout the world, most of them come from Hyderabad, most of them come from India. And if you see that, they would put wonderful faces, wonderful names, and wonderful email IDs. You write to those email IDs, the email IDs are going to bounce. Nobody is going to respond. These are all ghost people who do not have any kind of, credibility. And they just use they have just used my name and my photograph ability. And they have just used my name and my photograph also in some of the journals to whom I did not even give. I don't even care about, right? So all such kind of things you have to take care, because in some engineering journals our names are appearing, in some arts and social sciences journals our names are appearing. So just imagine what would a wildlife biologist or zoologist would be doing with paper on C.S. Lewis or something. I don't even know. I don't even care about it, right? So look at all those things, and when you are having clarity, then you should go forward. So very, very important thing is you have to always pay attention towards publishing your paper manuscripts in peer-reviewed journals. That is the idea that you have to keep in mind. Don't get to publish in any of the predatory journals. Now, when we talk about peer review journals, one of the major problems with the peer review journals is they also charge a lot. When I say charge a lot, they charge in lakhs. There are journals that would take 1.5 lakhs as article processing charges, article processing fee, and there are some journals that are free. Now, as research scholars who have little kind of budget with us, we should always look at open access journals with no fee. For example, Current Science is among one of such multidisciplinary journals that is an open access journal. That means your papers, once it is published, is available for everybody to see throughout the world, and they will not charge you for publishing your paper in that particular journal. And there are journals that you look at, Taylor and Francis, Wiley, Springer, Elsewhere, and all those things. These are groups of journals. Lots of journals are published by these publication houses. As a scientist, I always say that these are scamsters. These are also scamsters. Why should I pay 1,50,000 rupees for my research work to get published? But once again, they say that okay, we'll make it as open access because we are giving it to reviewers, we are giving it to editors, and all those things. I am on many editorial boards. I am on many review committees, review boards of many journals. Nobody gives me a single pie. That's the fact. But they will fool you and say that okay. But sometimes it is required, and we have to get it done, because that is how the market is. Let me put it that way. This is a market. That is how market is. So instead of making it, no. Yeah. So there are many ways. I'm not going to go into the details of what is open access and all such kind of things. Open access is nothing. They will charge you to make your paper available for all the other readers. If you don't pay it, then the reader has to pay. You might have seen that you have to pay $35 to download a paper. So the user has to pay the fee to access your paper, or else you pay upfront and give free access to all the readers. So this will work this way or that way. And many universities and many research projects have this component wherein you can use that money for doing open access publication. So now, many a times you might have come across global journal, international journal, universal journal of so and so, and all such kind of wonderful funny names. You are all smiling at me, but you have to also remember that if you have your own kids or your nieces and nephews, if they are going to school, their parents, your cousins or your own siblings who have kids, they would prefer to send their kids to a global school or an international school. What they teach is the same thing, right? Right? We get attracted to these kind of things, saying that, okay, I have publication in International Journal of Indian Studies, right? International, World Journal, World Universal Journal. I have come across the names like this, World Universal Journal of so and so. Then to make all of you sitting in this classroom publish your papers coming from different discipline, I have a journal called International Journal of Multidisciplinary Subjects. Law student is sending, architect student is sending, engineering student is sending, my zoology student is sending, and I'm happily publishing it. I will charge 2,000 rupees from each. Right? It's a business. So you have to start thinking that, why it is important. Why? How are you going to decide about? And to tell you very frankly, I have stopped saying, in the past, I used to say I have 5 papers in, now presently 18 papers in national journals, and rest of them are in international journals. Since 2008 onwards, I say all the journals are international journals, because all the journals have international people sitting on the editorial board. All the journals are publishing internationally because they are taking authors from international, foreign countries, and they are publishing. For example, the Current Science. Current Science is published from Indian Institute of Science. It is located in India, in Bangalore. For quite a long time, we had been thinking, selection committees have been, when I appeared for my interview in University of Delhi, they say, no, Current Science is national journal. I said, but Current Science has publications from many international authors. Current Science is referred in many international, universities. So it is an international journal. So start thinking about what is national and what is international. Marketing gimmick that predatory journals would do. So no journal of repute or no journal of respect would call itself as international journal or world journal or universal journal. All of them have wonderful small titles. They would not be putting big prefix as such. So peer reviews come in many different forms. You have single blind peer review, or double blind, or open review. In the single blind, the names of the reviewers are hidden from the authors, but authors' names are shown to the reviewer. So I know that this paper is written by somebody who's, or team of some authors. I know them, who are they, from which college they are coming, from which university they are coming, from which institute they are coming, and what type of work they have done, and all such kind of things. Double blind is, I don't know your who has written the manuscript, and the authors will not know who has reviewed it. A wonderful way of mechanism of keeping that secrecy, so there would not be any bias. If I come across any paper that has been published as a reviewer or as an editor, I came across any paper that has been published by my colleague who has moved away from my university or my department to some other department, and I don't want him to grow. Good. Human tendency, right? But double blind peer review is something where I don't know. I might be thinking, yes, Hare, this is the type of work which my colleague used to do. I hate him, but I don't know whether this is coming from same lab or somebody else. If I do some kind of biased decision on that, it happens because we are all humans. If I do this kind of bias kind of decision on that, then I might be hurting somebody who genuinely deserves some kind of good review rather than my bad review. And open review is both the sides know where it is going, right? Usually when review things happen, we ask you to give names of at least 3 reviewers. Good journals will ask you the names of 3 reviewers, and good journals will also ask you to give possible people's name whom you do not want this paper to be given to. We say negative review because they might be having some kind of reservation against the methodology that you have used. Many manuscripts that we have written got rejected. We in the scenario where we do lots of publishing and all those things, we always have problem with reviewer number 2. Reviewer number 2 would be the one who would be creating problems for of the 3 review. And the reviewer number 2 invariably says that the methodology that you have followed is not the methodology that I like. And our journal, our manuscript gets rejected because reviewer 2 is having that kind of attitude. So what I am trying to tell you that these kind of things happen, and we have to be aware of all these things. But yet these are the things that should not stop us from going for good publication. Now, what is the top journal? How do you find out? The top journal has highest impact factor. It might be having highest impact factor, but it might not be a top journal in that particular. For example, Cell has a highest impact factor, but as a person from zoology department in Osmania University, if I submit something to Cell, they will outrightly send it back. They won't even care to look at, because I don't come from the top 10 institutions of India, full stop. Right? I might have done wonderful science, but my affiliation says Osmania University. They will just remove it and say, throw it. Nature same, science same, all such kind of top journals would be same. Now you start thinking, okay, if that is the case, then what is the top journal for me? Then there are ways by means of which you can determine which are the best journals, which are taking papers from India, papers from developing countries, and they are encouraging. They have good, not so great impact factor, but good impact factor, good reputation in the field, and all such kind of things. You can take those things into consideration and start looking at it. One of the important things that you have to see is this thing. When you're talking about top journal, go to that website and try to find out the journal in your field of research, right? SCI or Journal Citation Reports, JCR. These are the 2 indices that you need to follow to zero in on what are the best journals that you have. As I told you, I come from zoology background, conservation science, bat studies, nature conservation, and all such kind of things. I'll just give you a couple of examples. You go and search for what subject you want to, publish your paper, what is your expertise, and you search for that, and you will get n number of journals listed there. Of that, first 5 journals, top 5 journals, you start looking at and go to their home pages, journal home pages. And on the journal home pages, you see here, it doesn't say my SJIR impact factor is 19.8 and all those things loudly. If you look at this particular web page and you look at any 19.8 and all those things loudly, if you look at this particular web page and you look at any of the predatory journal web page, you will come to know the difference, right? There is no sale, no discount up to this time, nothing of that sort on this particular journal, because these journals need not do all those things. This journal is a conservation biology journal, and this journal will give you the impact factor. Impact factor, you can't even read it. Very small, just like any text, it is just putting my impact factor is 5.89. My editor is this. And you can also see that in different sections of that particular thing. For example, it says ecology here, it says biodiversity conservation, it says environmental science. In the environmental science, out of 242 journals that are present in this category, this journal, Conservation Biology, is ranked 18th, right? So that way you will come to know that in these keywords, where this journal stands. Now, this is what is very, very important to, for you to choose the best and publish there. Now, impact factor, once again, as I told you, many impact factors are there, but scientifically recognized impact factors are the JCR reports, journal citation reports, and this has not been updated since quite long, but it just shows that, every year JIF are published by the journal citation reports, and this will give you the clear-cut idea about what is the correct impact factor, internationally recognized impact factor for a particular journal. You have to remember, the greater the reputation or greater the impact factor of a journal, higher the rejection rate. I have told you, we sometimes aim for the big, highly reputed journal, send it across, finger crossed and wait. In 14 days, we get the reply. No. Thank you very much. We are not interested in your. 14 days, we get the reply. No. Thank you very much. We are not interested in your paper. They won't even say why. Right? They'll just say that your paper does not, your manuscript does not fit to our general requirement. Thank you very much for considering. These are the 3 lines that they would send it back to us and say that higher the reputation, higher the chances of rejection. That you have to remember. But that also means that you should not be kind of, refraining yourself from trying to publish there. You have to pick up first 3 top journals, send it to the first. If it gets selected, hooray, let's have biryani party. If not, there's a second journal that is waiting for us. We'll send it there. If not, there's a third journal that is waiting for us. But don't go for the 10th journal, 9th journal, and 7th journal from the bottom, because they will not be accepting. You are missing the chances of getting yourself published in the first top 5 journals without even considering, because you are undermining yourself, saying that sir nahi publish karenge, aap hi aake ek baar bole na rejection rate zyada rehta. But you are undermining yourself, saying that sir nahi publish karenge, aap hi aake ek baar bole na rejection rate zyada rehta. But you have so much of time, you can take that risk, right? And then try to look for the journal in which we have published is a science journal. Rejection rate, one scientist has said that, due to my grad school experience, when I die, I want my body to be donated to science. And by science, of course, I mean the journal Science. I want my dead body delivered to their office. Such a big statement. Such a big statement. So just imagine this gentleman sending manuscripts to Science again and again, and getting rejected n number of times, right? Even the paper that we have published there got rejected for 5 times. Then we had to convince them that no, this is worth your journal. Your journal is going to get good citation because of this paper, right? And only after that they have accepted our research paper to be published there. So now you start thinking, okay, sir, you are talking about all these things, but how do we check what is the best journal suited for us? We have certain websites. Long back, we used to use this website called as thinkchecksubmit.org. This is a website wherein you can just go in, plug in, register yourself and plug in your keywords and all such kind of things. And it will tell you which are the best journals that is suitable for you to publish your research papers. One of the important aspects of research writing is the time it takes for doing research writing. And if you are thinking that आगे 2 दिन में लिख देंगे, 4 दिन में publish कर देंगे, wonderful. Please do it with great happiness. Do it, and nobody is going to care about it. Right? You would be having something to show on your CVs, but serious people are not going to take you seriously. Full stop. If you want to become good researchers in future, you have to remember that it takes a lot of time and effort from your side to become a good researcher. Now, when we are talking to conduct any research that you are doing, you are aware that how much time you are spending in your labs, sitting in front of computers, sitting in front of in the library, pouring through all the articles and published material to create that idea, to have that knowledge, to ask this pertinent questions and get the answers. You know how much time you are spending, right? And all those things, those of you who are from science background, you will know that your science cannot be done without experimentation. Those of us who are not from science background, we know that how much time we also spend on getting the data, getting the information, doing the analysis. It's not just the science people who do the data analysis and all those things. On this side also, I'm just making this, division. I don't know. Don't mind if your science students are sitting here and social science students, for my sake, I'm making this division. But it takes a lot of time. So you have to remember that you do certain field work, It would be few weeks of field work, few months of field work, or years of field work. Then you do some lab work. After going to field, collecting your data and all such kind of things, you have to process it in the lab. It would take few weeks, months, or years. Then you need to do the analysis. Whatever data you have got, you have to do the data kind of, addressing data manipulation and all such kind of things. And then you do the data analysis. It will take few weeks to few months. Then you would do manuscript writing with all these problems that we are not, wonderful English speakers. We are not native English speakers. So we have learned English and we have to write something, right, for the first time. Then it would take lots of time. It takes weeks to months, paper writing, manuscript writing. Then you have ask the guide to go through it, or you should give it to a senior member in your research lab. Ask the senior member in the research lab to go through it and advise you whether you have written it properly or not. So that is pre-submission review that you have to do. And then if you are sending it for review, it will take 3 months to 6 months, sometimes years also. It's an ideal situation. Then they would ask for revision. It depends upon you, your freedom, your time, etc., etc., few days to several months. And then editorial decision, again, few days to few weeks. And then finally, a publication. Once editor decides that, okay, your paper is good, we have accepted it, it will take minimum 2 months to 12 months for the paper to be published. Versus 2 hours, 2,000 rupees, PDF in your inbox in 24 hours, within 24 hours. You see where we are going towards, right? So this is how much efforts it takes for you to write a good research paper, get a good research publication out of your research work. Now, when you have spent so much of time doing these things, do you think that it should be published in two minute ka Maggie noodle ki tarah? Does your work deserves that kind of, why are you undermining yourself? You might not be doing it, you will not do it, but if you get into the trap, or if you get entrapped towards such kind of things of quick publication, please do not go down that funnel. Please. Because respect yourself. You have spent so much time. What is wrong in spending some more months in getting your research paper published in good research journal? So now these are some of the questions that you have to start asking that, I have almost, touched upon these things. So these are some of the questions that you have to ask, that is it worth? Can I wait? And the simple answer, as a research guide, as a professor in university, I would say that please do not compromise on the quality of work that you are doing. Please do not do that, just for the sake of wanting a research paper. And believe me, that's the reason why AICTE, NEP, UGC, we have decided that we are not going to pressurize our students to write a research paper for getting your PhD submitted, full stop. No need to publish. Don't publish junk. That's the message that we are giving here. If you want to publish good research paper in your lifetime. One research paper is enough. Don't publish junk. It's not a requirement that, for your getting your PhD. When we have put this requirement, everybody and anybody was publishing all sorts of junk. To tell you, 48% of my research papers published from Osmania University is worth waste paper basket. 48%. Why am I telling you this? Because I was coordinator for internal quality assurance cell for 8 years, and we had been doing all these analysis in the background to understand what my colleagues, what my research scholars, what my research labs are doing in my university. 48%. Had we not published these papers, 100% were in the good journals. right? Very simple mathematics, very simple mathematics. Had we not published these 48% papers in bad journals, all my 52% would become 100% in good journals. So we have lost certain things. Those of us who are in the administration and those of us who are in the faculty, we know that, we did not get A++ grade because of these limitations. And that's the reason why I vociferously, when I'm speaking to my research scholars, I say that publish in good research journals. If you don't want to publish, don't publish. But it's not like, just because people are pressurizing, I am publishing. Don't do that. Okay, right? Okay, this is once again, every journal. There are many a times you will see that, good journals, when you submit a manuscript, they are going to return it, do's and don'ts, and what is the manuscript requirement and all such kind of things. I am writing on the most, successful heroines in Indian film industry and submit it to Journal of Nature Conservation. Do you think they will take it? I need to know that. Where am I submitting? But if I submit it to International Journal of Multidisciplinary Studies, they will take it. But if I submit it to International Journal of Multidisciplinary Studies, they will take it. Because they are not interested in your research paper. They are interested in the 2,000 rupees that you are going to pay eventually, right? We have done those experiments. We have written nonsense and published it just to show our research scholars, this is what they do. Then my research scholars said, sir, జీవితంలో మళ్ళీ అక్కడికి వెళ్ళాం, పబ్లిష్ చేస్తే మంచి పబ్లిష్ చేస్తాం, లేకపోతే చెయ్యము. Intentionally we have put mistakes in our research paper and we have sent it. My research scholar was so happy. Sir, accept ho gaya. In 2 days, sir, publish ho gaya. I said, how much did you pay? Sir, 2,000 रुपया. I said, 4 दिन का बिरयानी मेरा मिस हो गया. तू और मैं 4 दिन बिरयानी खा सकते थे 2,000 रुपए में. ठीक है, जाने दो. पब्लिश होके आ गया वापस पेपर. मैं बोला, देख बेटा, अभी उसके अंदर में गलतियां हैं क्या, जो लगाया? हाँ सर. खुश है तो? नहीं सर. Right? You're getting the point. So you have to be very, very careful at reading the aims and scopes of the journal. The scope of the journal is very, very important, right? And all of these are the resources. I'm sorry for the bad quality here, but you can online, you can search which are the best journals that suit your domain, your genre, right? You have to find out those things first and then focus on those things rather than putting it into universal journals. So this, very quickly, I'm going to tell you about what exactly happens when you are submitting your manuscript. You are an author, you would be submitting your manuscript to a particular journal. It will go to the editor-in-chief, and editor-in-chief is going to, write it back to you saying that, your paper manuscript, we are tentatively accepting, we are taking it for further consideration. And the editor-in-chief is going to, assign the job to a handling editor or associate editor or managing editor, and that editor is going to look into that manuscript and come back to you and say that your manuscript doesn't fit, you have to do these changes or such kind of things. And then once he or she finds out everything is fine, they will take it forward for the review process. As I told you, the best of the best journals do 3 reviewers. Reviewer 1, reviewer 2, and reviewer 3. Minimum 3. It goes to minimum 3. The journals on which I am sitting, we do community review. That means at least 5. At least 5 researchers have to review those papers, manuscripts, and give their input. Only then we'll take it forward. So this is 3, minimum 3. The reviewers are going to look into your manuscript and suggest edits, changes, and all such kind of things. And they are not going to write directly to you. That is what you have to remember. If review is happening in predatory journals also, reviewers sometimes directly write to author, which is not the correct process. So again, if you're getting any answers or any queries from reviewers, then you know that you are in the arena of predatory journal. So reviewers are going to give the inputs to handling editor. The handling editor is in turn going to send back all the recommendations, suggestions, and edits suggested by reviewers to you. You have to make those changes and send it back to handling editor once again. and the handling editor is going to again send it back to reviewers to check all the suggestions that they have made have been incorporated or not. It takes time. And then finally, handling editor is going to say, hey, they have done all the suggestions they have incorporated. He will not come directly back to you. The news is going to go to editor-in-chief, and editor-in-chief is going to write back to you saying that finally your paper has been accepted. This morning, I accepted a paper as one of the editors, not editor-in-chief. So the green authors wait for that, right? After they have submitted, authors wait for that one email that says accepted. It takes at least minimum 2 months. I have told you about these things, like editorial biases do happen. They do exist. Sometimes it is very evident. Sometimes it is not so evident. Racism is there. Country base is there. Gender biases is there. I have seen many editorial boards rejecting articles coming from, I'm sorry to say and share, that articles which has been purely written by lady research scholars. What do they know? That's so surprising. But there are biases happening. And there are also biases when I say that, if we are publishing from India, only Indians are there on the authors, our papers get rejected. We bring in, Gora skin guy from United Kingdom or United States of America, the paper gets accepted. We make no changes. We make no changes on those manuscripts. We are just giving somebody the credit, right? And then the paper gets accepted. These are personal experiments that we have done, and based on our own experiences, we are talking about this. So it is very, very important that when you are submitting any research paper, manuscript, you need to have a wonderful cover letter. The cover letter should always, in India, we always say sir and madam, but outside India, they don't like themselves to be called as sir and madam, because that usually refers to that racial kind of, connotation. And then you can just write Professor so-and-so, I'm submitting my manuscript, and this is the new thing that I am adding to science, or this is the new thing that I am adding to already existing bulk of knowledge that we have in this sphere of information that I am talking about. And then how it would be useful for local public or global citizen, and then go about saying that all the authors have agreed, because if you are multiple authored paper, all the authors have agreed to submit this particular paper, and all the authors have no conflict of interest on this particular subject which we are submitting to you. So all such kind of things you have to keep in mind, and also make a statement saying that the manuscript has been formatted as per the requirement of the journal. That means that you have to go through author instruction to authors very carefully and follow everything to the T, right? And also the last point, I'm sorry, how do I go back? Yeah, also the last point is very important. Many a times what we do, we want quick publication, एक ही manuscript 3 जगह भेजे, तीनों जगह accept हो गया, तीनों जगह खुशी खुशी, फ्यूचर में पता चलेगा, नेक्स्ट क्लास में बताएंगे आपको क्या होगा. Okay, so how do you select potential reviewers? I have told you, if at all the journals are not asking you reviewers to be suggested, predatory journal, good journals will ask you 3 names, potential 3 names, and you have to pay attention that the names that you're suggesting are the experts in your field. They are not related to you. They do not work in the same lab. They do not work in the same institution. And they should not be the persons with whom you have authored a manuscript in the last 1 year, or else biases will come in. So that's the reason why we always encourage that, and then we also say that, non-preferred reviewers, because as I told you, if I know that there is a person who is very well-established scientist like me, but I know when I write a manuscript on so-and-so paper, it will go to him, I can say Professor so-and-so, Muralidhar should not be a reviewer, because he and I stand opposite to each other on this matter. If it goes to Dr. Muralidhar and he doesn't like the methodology that I follow, he will never in his awakened or dreaming situation stage accept my manuscript in whatever way I have written. If I know such kind of, reviewers are there, I will just put their names and say conflict of interest. I don't want this manuscript to go to them. Simple. Or else what happens is many of us sit on many of the review board because of our expertise. And if you don't mention, along with the 3, they might send it to him or her. Because the journal has, the editorial board has that freedom. If one of the reviewer is not responding, I will pick up one of the expert from my review committee and send it to them, right? So all these things you have to keep in mind. So there are many different types of papers. I'm not going to go into details. So what makes a good paper? Good research. What makes a good research? ठीक है, knowledge ठीक है, अपना dedication भी चाहिए. Right? Ask innovative questions, seek for innovative answers. Right? Ask innovative questions and seek for innovative answers. That is what makes good research. And you also have to make some kind of, that local, mentality. Right? You need to be globally answering questions to the local problems that are there. Right? So that kind of mentality you need to have. And how can you increase the scope of your research paper, research activities, and all those things? Ask pertinent questions. Do not say that I am doing this research because my senior has done this research. Many a times in many research labs, I have seen that. Sir, I ask them, Are yaar, this methodology is so old. Why do you want to use that ancient? No, sir, my senior has done this. In my lab, we follow only this methodology. In your lab, all of them went southward, you go southward only. Nobody wants to turn around, go northward. Because everybody wants to go southward, because all of us think that we are all educated sheep. Right? Awaken the researcher in you. Do not follow. Be a leader. Be a leader. It takes little bit of courage to do that. But once you have hit that point, there's no turning back. और बहुत मजा आता है वहाँ पर. When you become a leader, बहुत मजा आता है. If you are a follower, कोई मजा नहीं आता. कोई भी आके बोलेंगे नहीं मेरा सीनियर किया ना, वही किया मैं, बस PhD आ गया. Not more than that. You would not be saying anything more than that, right? What is the benefit of authorship? Your CV becomes, right? What is the benefit of authorship? You are recognized. What is the benefit of authorship? You are an expert, right? 15, 20 years of experience in the field and no papers, research papers. Do you think anybody would recognize me? Nobody. It's because of my research papers that are talking on my behalf. On a global scale, I am recognized. If I have not published, I might have been lost. So authorship benefits are many. What is the responsibility? I take the responsibility of good authorship, manuscript. I know I have done good research, integrity of my work. Because if I do any one wrong, it is enough for me to just break me totally, right? So authorship also comes with responsibility. I need to be very, very careful. If I have committed a mistake, if there is a wrong thing that has happened in my research paper, I should be able to stand in front of my peer and say, yes, it was by oversight. I did not think about it, and I am making an amendment and publishing an amendment to correct that thing, right? That is responsibility. And then if somebody in you who is my reader says that this is wrong, I cannot be saying kya padha hai tum, kaun se college mein padhe. I should not be saying that. I should respect you and say ki acha theek hai, if this is wrong, then let me look into that. Let me find out. Let me sit with you and find out what is your problem, and let me see how I can mend that thing. Co-authorship. Now you might have seen that I believe in co-authorships because I might be having idea, I don't have time. My research scholars are going to execute that work for me. I know that there are certain new species of bats or new species of snakes that are available. I cannot be going there because university keeps me tied here. I can tell my research scholars, please go there, collect those things, come back, we'll do the work. Right? So if I'm working on a global scale, if there are my colleagues sitting in Sri Lanka, in Nepal, in Afghanistan, and they are having those specimens, I would not be going there to collect those specimens. They will collect the specimens. They will do the analysis that I want them to do. I will do my specimen analysis. Both of us will put our efforts together and publish. Co-authorship will decrease our efforts, enhances our global scale work, enhances our ability to work. Or I am good at creating ideas. My friend is good at executing those ideas. Somebody is good at doing data analysis. I don't know R, but my team knows R. I will appoint them as one of the co-author. I will give you data, you analyze. This is what I need. And somebody else is good at drawing, making drawings and all those things. They will be doing that thing. And they are all co-authors. One of the other things that is, what's the drawbacks of co-authorship? Drawbacks is like, it can slow down publication. I'm waiting for, since past 3 years for my Sri Lankan team to give me information. I know it is something which can make a global impact, but my Sri Lankan team says, sir, we are not getting the specimen. We can't be giving you now. So it slows down the publication. It takes a lot of time. It can lead to disputes. Sometimes they will say, sir, I didn't say these things, and you have just published it on my behalf. It can lead to those disputes. And sometimes it also dilutes the glory. Just imagine if I am the person who has discovered that some drug has anti-cancer property, and if I have to share with Dr. Muralidhar, Srinivasulu lost it. अब दोनों खड़े रह के लेना Nobel Prize. Yes, right? So that's how it works out. But it has lots of good things, because I know the animal that gives me anti-cancer, property bearing products, and he knows the technique to synthesize it and develop it in his lab. I cannot be doing that work, right? So if I want to do that, then I have to take PhD degree in his lab, learn those techniques, spend 10 years, and do a Nobel Prize winning cancer research. But if I can work with him, I can do it within 6 months. So all those things happen. So who can be a co-author? A co-author needs to be involved in more than one of these activities, right? That's the reason why most of the time we say that your guide needs to be a co-author, because your guide is providing you space for working. Your guide is providing you AC lab to sit in and work on a lighter note, right? But your guide is also helping you to conceptualize. You have an idea, but your guide tells you, okay, do this, right? So this way, you have to start thinking that who should be your co-author. Any person who has contributed to more than one of these activities, you can take him or her as your co-author. What we should not do, we should not gift authorship, because there are many institutions where they do it like this. I am a wonderful researcher, and along with me, my Honorable Vice Chancellor is also co-author, and my Honorable Vice Chancellor is now presently political science professor. And I am writing about a new species of lizard I have discovered. In what way, Honorable Vice Chancellor? Because I want to be, in good books with Honorable Vice Chancellor, I have written like this. That's a gift authorship. One should not do all those kind of things. But they are coerced to authorship also. That means the directors of the institutions will say, I should be there. Forced authorship. I will not do anything. I will not do anything. Next month's pay bill, I am not going to sign. Right? All these things we have to take care, because we are doing good science. We are doing good research. We have to see that, we are following the research, protocols properly in a scientific manner. So you might be thinking that, kahan se seekhenge, sir? There are lots of, जैसे YouTube channels है ना, खाना कैसे बनाना, गाड़ी कैसे सीखना, वैसा बहुत सारे we have right? We have lots and lots of online resources, published peer-reviewed research paper that would teach you how you can collaboratively write a multi-authored research paper, or how you can avoid and resolve conflicts when you are working in a bigger research groups. So why papers get rejected? I have told you, if I submit 6 or 7 manuscripts every year, of which 2 manuscripts come back to me, why do they get rejected? There are multiple reasons, and what we need to do is we need to start understanding why they are getting rejected. Because of your poor English. Many a times we say that, English is okay, the ideas are great, but it need to be written through, or some native English speaker, somebody who is truly born English should go through your research paper and give you comments to make English proper, grammar proper, syntax errors and all those things. All these things come into play when your papers are getting rejected. So you have to be taking care of all these things. And how to deal with rejection? Had I given up in the first 2 rejections, I might not be standing here and talking to you and say that I have authored 150 plus research papers, right? It's never, when you are in field, you should never give up. You should take the advice from the reviewers who have said that, this is not properly written, or this methodology you should have followed, or do this, you might have done properly, because no reviewer or nobody else in the peer are against you. They are wanting to develop you. They are wanting to help you do good research. The same thing happens when you are defending your research design seminar, or when you are doing your progress seminar, or pre-submission seminar, or final viva voce. Also, when you are defending your thesis, if a DRC committee member is talking to you very seriously and say, no, this is wrong, it is not because they hate you or they don't like you, or it's not because they have some kind of animosity with your guide. They are interested in strengthening you. They are interested in making you a good researcher, because at the end of the day, you are going to reflect the university's research ecosystem, right? So that's how you have to start thinking about. And if your research paper gets rejected from good impact factor journal, as I told you, shortlist journal, as I told you, shortlist 4 or 5 research journals, go to the next one, but don't get dejected and say ki are yaar chalo PhD thesis aa gaya, degree aa gaya, why should I publish? No, right? Publishing your paper is one good requirement. At least those of you who are pursuing your PhD, one research paper, at least in your career, right? As a PhD scholar, you should have at least one research paper, so that you can tell your grandchildren that I am also a research author. I have published a research paper, right? This is the body of your research paper, your thesis, whatever you are writing. Thesis also, you have to go through this. In the thesis, you are the only author, but when you are writing a research paper, you have multiple authors. Then this is the main body. Introduction, we follow the IMRAD scheme. I don't know whether it has been told or not to you. We follow the IMRAD scheme: introduction, methods, and results and discussion. IMRAD scheme, results and discussion. So this is the main body, that's the head, and this is the tail, right? So in the head, you have title, author details, abstract, keywords, and in the tail, you have references. And before references, sometimes you have to add acknowledgement. I thank my so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and I also thank my pet dog for not eating away my homework. Right? So title, you need to be making your titles very interesting. If the title is interesting, it's just like cinema title. The title needs to be interesting, right? And the title is the first impression. People are going to read the title first, and then they are going to read the abstract. If you make the cinema title interesting and the teaser interesting, then your film is going to be attractive, blockbuster. If not, right? So you have to be, using the titles that could be informative or result-based titles or descriptive titles or fancy, catchy or funny title. Just read. We as scientists, we don't mind using that word. Sex that moves mountains. Sex. Arey, kya hai? Oh, the influence of fawning spatial river profiles. अच्छा, ठीक है. पढ़ेंगे क्या हो रहा है उसके अंदर में. You're getting it. So we don't mind using those kind of, many. These are coming from the best of the best researchers in the field. I am sexy, and I know it bolna chahiye tha, but it is talking about a fish. I glow it. Just imagine how you can attract readers to your papers. Then keyword titles. These are some of the papers that we have published. The first one is about that fancy title, In Plain Sight. These two species were different, but they were always thought to be the same. And after almost about 100 years, we found out that they are different. It was different. In plain sight, it was different, but for 100 years, we had been thinking that it's same. So it's a fancy title, and that's a descriptive title. So this is coming from our lab. These are the papers that we have done. Abstract, as I told you, is a teaser. It needs to be very, very precise. It needs to be very, very short. It need not include any of the references and all such kind of things. You should always aim for less than 250 words in the abstract. So you have to remember these. You have to give a background. You have to give a problem statement, state the gap, what is the research gap, and why you are doing this particular work. What was the important result? What did you find, and what is that you are reporting? You should avoid any kind of acronyms, and you should never say, in my opinion, this is the kind of thing. Nothing of that sort should come in. And then remember that it is always better to write your abstract last. Many of us write the synopsis first. We should never do that. Abstract should be always at the end of your research work. So now, many a times we also ask you to put keywords, but many a times we don't use the keywords. So keywords should be something like, you should not use the keywords as words that have been already there in the title, because you are missing it, right? Population is already there. You have included population here. Salinity is already there. You have included. So this is a wrong way of putting the keyword. Keywords should be something more than what your title is saying, and it should be able to, give precisely what exactly your research paper is talking all about. So these are the good keywords that is not there in the title. So you have to be careful with that. Introduction, you need to, give the statement. You need to put a context, and you need to talk about what people have already done. You need to talk about research gap, and you need to say what are your objectives, the same way you are writing introduction chapter of your thesis. Then you start wondering, literature review, citation, people might be, your DRC members might be asking, where is the updated citation? Where is the updated literature review and all such kind of things? Then you have to start thinking, can you write everybody's name on everybody's research papers, or the best of the best cited? That also you can find out where exactly. Scholar, Google Scholar, go there, type in your keywords, and you will get the best of the best papers, best of the best teachers, best of the best researchers who are publishing in your domain, and go there and find out what are the best recent papers that they have written on the matter. And you have lots and lots of, journals that are available online. There you can go and find out in the recent ones. Methods, Enduku Enti Ela section of the research paper or research thesis, who, what, when, where, how it is done, and all such kind of things. And then I've seen that. So another 15-20 minutes. Yeah. So what are the key things that you have to do is, you have to remember your methodology section should be so clear that people should be able to replicate your methodology. That is what you have to keep in mind. You cannot be writing vague statements saying that, I followed the method of so-and-so in 1959. And what so-and-so has done in 1959, we don't even know. And nobody has time to go through 1959 paper. If you write the whole methodology and say this methodology is slightly changed or modified from so-and-so who published in 1959, then another researcher in future, if he reads your paper, they would be able to replicate the experiment that you have done. That you have to keep in mind. You have to give with clarity what type of softwares you have used, what type of figures you have used, what type of tables that you are doing, and all such kind of things. And you have to also remember that, when you are making tables, you should put only horizontal lines, no vertical lines. If any journal is, putting all the lines and publishing, that's a wrong way of publishing. And you have to remember what type of, statistical analysis you have done. And also, you have to use the licensed software. If you're doing SPSS, there should be a licensed software. You should not be saying that SPSS mere dost ke ghar mein kar liya. It would not be accepted. So all such kind of things, you have to be very careful. And so result is all about what you have found. It should be, portrayed in the manner of tables and figures with little text. Most of the time we write lots of text in results. It should not be done. The text is only for saying that, okay, this is what we have found out, and this is what we have reported in table number 1, and this is what the differences was, and that is being reported in figure number 1. That is how the text should be. It should not be like, giving the explanation of your finding. Explanation of your finding is the part of discussion section, right? So I'll go there because I have just seen my colleague has already arrived. I'll go to the explanation section. That is discussion. And the discussion is like, what you are writing, what you have contributed, what new knowledge has come, and you are comparing this new knowledge with already published knowledge, and you are telling them, telling your reader whether or not your research finding agrees to already reported findings or not, or it is different than that, and that's the reason why I deserve a Nobel Prize. As simple as that. So all these things you have to keep in mind, and you have to always end your discussion with that statement saying that, why this particular work was very, very important, right? So references, again, you have to remember that there are many reference formatting styles that you have to follow. Depending upon the journal requirement, you have to be formatting those things properly. If not, then you need to reformat your references, and your references should be full, complete. Your references should be only included in these sections most of the time. In methodology section, in results section, you should never be referring, giving citation to any kind of thing. And then you have to also remember that many a times we have seen references in introduction and references in discussion most of the time overlap. You should try to avoid such kind of things. If you have mentioned it once, you need not mention it again in the discussion. If you think that it is an important part of discussion, remove it from introduction, right? So many a times we do these mistakes when we are writing. The common writing flaws are we make big sentences and semicolon, colon, comma, and 3 dots and all such kind of things. All these things are not going to make any kind of impact on your writing style. What you have to do is write short and sweet sentences, to the point sentences, right? And then make every word count. You have to remember that you are in thesis, you can write whatever you want to write. I'm sorry to say, but when you are writing a research papers always say less than 8,000 words, right? And in less than 6,000 words, you have to put the whole research paper, including references, and you have to publish it. So you have to be very, very careful with your word usage. You should not use ambiguous word. In my opinion, and all such kind of things you have to not use. You define the terms, do not use jargons or do not use acronyms. Keep language consistent. If you are writing in active voice, write it in active voice throughout. If you're writing in passive voice, write it in passive voice throughout. And all such kind of things you have to pay attention towards. Do not use acronyms in titles. You have to remember that. Do not use acronyms in abstract. You have to remember that. Useless acronyms should not be used. Apne man mein aaya bana diya acronym. Do not do that, right? And all these things you have to keep in mind. Always make sure that the numbers, when you're starting, they are spelled out at the beginning of the sentence. 16 fish were caught is correct. Do not write 16 fish were caught. 13 from China, it's a double-digit number. That's the reason why it is in numerical. And 3 from India, it's a single-digit number that should be spelled out. These are basics of your English writing style, and you need to remember it. Then, as I told you, never begin with 6 fish were found. You should write, if it is in the beginning, 6 fish were found. And always spell out numbers below 10, right? Wherever they are, at the beginning or in the middle of the sentence, always spell out. And then you have hyphens and all such kind of things, how you use it, right? So that was something which was very brief about how you do your scientific writing. I hope that you have learned few new things. And that was the thank you slide. And this is the last slide. If you have any doubts, I will clarify before the next speaker comes in. Why was I called here to speak to you? I have those many papers. This is an old slide. I did not update. I have these many citations. I'm editorial board member for Journal of Tetranthaxia, Journal of Nature Conservation, Biodiversity Data Journal, etc. I am a handling and subject expert for almost more than 72 manuscripts I have a handle, and I am the reviewer for greater than 20 journals, and I have co-authored my papers with as many as 179 authors from all over the world. So that is the expanse of my experience, and that is what makes me talk with conviction and responsibility about how you can convert your research into good research papers, and why you should be writing good research papers following scientific writing techniques and scientific writing methods that I have tried to teach you in this 1.5 hours. Thank you very much.
Maybe if you have any questions, maybe you can discuss. Sir is available in the tea time. And Sarah, 2 offices also here only. Maybe you can catch Sir. I think anytime you can catch him. Yeah. So, yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for honoring our invite. And I hope this session, all of you are inspired. And as sir said, you'll be getting inspired and go ahead with your papers of the scientific writing. You'll be getting inspired and go ahead with your papers of the scientific writing. Now I request Professor Stevenson, sir, and Dr. Muralidhar Reddy, sir, a coordinator from HCTC, to present a small token of memento to Professor Srinivasulu, sir. Thank you for humbly accepting our request, sir. So let's go for a short break, and we'll be back in 10 minutes, probably.